Yes. Really, truly, it's and, you know, it's going to be great. Do we have judges yet?
No.
No one's even out there?
There's like people out there, but they don't look like judges.
Billy? Okay.
Or at least they don't have like notebooks.
No, those are her kids.
There's one guy out there with a notebook, but he's not coming for here.
아우씨 아까
Okay, now what did we tell you about fear? Okay, Dale, if it helps on you like a rat on cheese. There is no fear here. Right? Yeah. Absolutely.
이렇게 하자.
Save your life just now.
Judges.
Okay, here we go.
Good evening. We are Unit 1 from Evergreen High School, and we're all seniors. My name is Lisa McKenna. Hello, my name is Alina Cheech. And my name is Allison Joel. And here are our judges, Patty McMaster and John Larson.
If I can judge, that would be great. They might be your co-judge. We might be the judge. Oh. That's great.
Okay.
Good to know.
Like I said, my name is Lisa Farrell. I'm an attorney in Portland.
I'm Josephine Townsend. I'm an attorney in Portland and Vancouver.
I'm Jeremy Lucas. I'm the Episcopal priest at Holy Spirit Episcopal Church in Battleground.
I'm John Bosich. I currently teach at Kingsway Christian High School.
All right, tonight we have selected question number 2 for you. What are the fundamental characteristics of a constitutional government? In what ways does constitutional government mean limited government? Describe at least 3 provisions of the Constitution that provide a means of preventing the abuse or misuse of governmental power. Explain how these provisions work in our system of government today. You guys ready? Okay. President Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "The United States Constitution has proved itself the most marvelously elastic compilation of rules of government ever written. In order to set up a government, the founders believed that a written social compact needed to be drafted, a strategy to govern, or a constitution. In order to build a constitutional government, it was essential to the founders that all of the governed peoples obey the laws equally, no matter their age, rank, or wealth. Consequently, they incorporated fundamental characteristics such as rule of law."
Not only is the rule of law vital to a constitutional government, but also the concept of popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty keeps the power in the hands of the governed. If power is not regulated, a government can easily transform into a dictatorship. To prevent this, the founders established separation of powers, which guarantees that no branch will become more powerful than another. Furthermore, the process of checks and balances was instituted to protect each branch of the government from becoming an oligarchy. Since our government is federalist, the power is additionally broken down to the state and the local governments. Elections at the national and state levels all provide for equal amounts of power by rotating the government officials. All these institutions limit the power of the government.
Constitutional government expands on limited government by the provisions of the Constitution, whose written laws restrict the powers of the branches of government. A limited government is a system restricted to protecting natural rights of its citizens. In order to protect citizens' natural rights, each citizen needs to obey these laws to create fairness amongst the governed and those who govern. This will ensure that no governmental official abuses or misuses the power granted to him. For instance, a president can be subjected for impeachment if he violates his duties.
Limited government is characterized by restraints on power as specified by the Constitution. For example, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution declares, "No state shall, without consent of Congress, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace." This confines the states from acting on their own will by requiring the consent of the Congress. In order to prevent the abuse or misuse of governmental power, the Constitution provides several provisions that instill these limitations, such as the Bill of Rights. A case in point being the Fourth Amendment, in which search and seizure is only lawful with a warrant. Also, sometimes two branches are required to work together to promote a limited government. For instance, the Senate must approve the U.S. Supreme Court justices appointed by the President, and the President, in turn, can veto acts of Congress or pardon convicted criminals.
Furthermore, the concept of checks and balances was established to prevent any branch of government from demonstrating excessive power from an individual or a group. Each branch of government acts as a check for the other two branches. For example, every 2 years, 1/3 of Congress is required to run for re-election. This provision secures the idea of limited government since Congress has a 6-year term. However, during the Civil War in 1861, President Lincoln violated his principle by unconstitutionally suspending the writ of habeas corpus. Yet, as it would be later established, extreme cases such as war demanded different criteria. For this reason, the War Powers Resolution was enacted in 1973, allowing the President to declare war without the consent of Congress. This seemingly large violation only pertains for 90 days, after which the President must go before Congress if he wishes to prolong the war. Even in such instances, the power is still regulated and limited.
Constitutional government is a limited government. Citizens and governing officials are required to work together to create an effective constitutional government. Once both sides cooperate, only then can a constitutional government succeed. This social compact creates a document ensuring the rights of the people by listing the restrictions on the government power. A constitution serves as the best definition on governmental limitations.
Thank you. Start us off. Down here.
Popular sovereignty you mentioned several times, kind of a key principle. Can the people's will be ever wrong? And if so, what is the check on popular sovereignty that has gone too far perhaps or mistaken? Can popular sovereignty go too far?
Popular sovereignty means that the power resides in the people. And as Aristotle believed that each type of government can have a right form and a corrupt form. And in this case, where the people have the power, it can either be a republic or it can be a democracy, which he thought of as a corrupt form.
So recently, the government shut down, and there were a group of congressmen and women who believed very strongly in what they believed in, and they pushed Congress to a place where the government stopped working. Their argument was they were representing the people that sent them to Congress. In your opinion, do you think it's more important for someone who is sent to be a representative in government to represent the people that sent them, or to work together for the common good of the whole? And this is just your opinion. I'm just wondering, what do you think about that? Is that something that we'll just understand?
In my opinion, I think it is more important that they work towards the common good, unless, of course, in the fact that it, of course, takes away jobs, as it has for 3 weeks prolonged. That took away money to support families. People are living off of this money while Congress is still earning their money. I feel like that if this is prolonging everyone else, the government shouldn't be earning money, but it should be important to represent the people, because
I disagree with my colleague in terms of that a representative is elected by their standards. The people elect a representative in terms of what they believe. And so if a representative is not representing the people in Congress, then what good is it if in those terms they are violating the duties that they were in, which they had said that they would do?
Isn't there a reason we have a representative form of government? Meaning that if they just go and say this is, you know, what I was told to do, what's the point?
Well, that is true. They do represent us, and yet if they go and they start changing their opinions, that is not already representing the people who had sent them.
And it's kind of impossible to represent literally every single person you are representing, because there's always going to be a million different opinions. I'm not going to say that no one's ever going to be like fully happy, but not everybody is going to agree with it. So it's kind of hard to come to a consensus for for Congress, let's say, for everybody to overall be satisfied. And this is kind of, I feel like this is what created the shutdown in the first place.
So while they must represent their views, they can still cooperate, and they don't have to go completely literal and box themselves in and just completely stop and stand in their shoes and say, no, I will not move. But they must, as a whole, try to represent.
Oh, you're an easy one, because that was really hard. Tell me what you think the rule of law means.
Rule of law means that everybody, every person, even people who make laws, they are subject to those laws. They must follow the laws that they make, so no one is above the law.
And this includes, of course, the government. But people may say there are some exceptions. The principal has certain powers that not everybody in the states have, but that's kind of a given. That's why we have a leader. But limited rule of law, it is dedicated solely to everybody being equal, so that we don't turn into a dictatorship. This is why it's super it's very it's specified in the Constitution, and that's why we have a Bill of Rights.
You can finish yourself.
Good
I'll give you 5 seconds.
All right. Great job. Okay, so we're going to give you a little bit of feedback now.
I think you had some tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. You had some tough questions.
That's a great question.
Think about. I started you out with the tough one. Yeah, you did good. I mean, it was just you have to apply kind of what you're reading or whatever to government shutdown throughout the one about popular sovereignty or whatever. And so I would just encourage you to dig maybe a little deeper in terms of the popular sovereignty and try to think of some examples if that comes. Another judge and ask me that. Where can the people be wrong? Okay, and what checks do we have on if popular sovereignty is violating a constitutional principle? What can we do about it? What is in the system that checks a popular sovereignty that's gone awry? So just throw that out something.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job. You answered the question that was asked. Your opening statement was wonderful. I know it was a difficult question, but it's one of those things that I think when you move on, you move ahead, state level, you're going to be listening and having questions where things that are happening right now today on TV are going to be part of this. And this kind of question about, representing versus working together as a Congress is right in the middle of all this stuff, limited government stuff. I thought you did a great job trying to get it out. Don't worry. It was about, kind of getting to the end of it. You really might, when you're asked to think quickly, sometimes you're going to get to the end of a thought. Don't feel like you have to say anything else. Just, just answer what you answer, and then just stop, take a breath, and just let it be. Because I know we're sitting here looking at you, and you keep feeling like you need to say something else, and say something else, and have I gotten to the end of it? Just relax. You all answered, you got it out there, so good job. No problem.
I would agree, and in addition to that, we're waiting for you to finish your thought before we give another question, so that pregnant silence that goes on sometimes is okay, and to be comfortable with that. I also thought, Allison, that you made a great recovery in terms of you had the expression of, I should be able to say more, and as soon as you had the opportunity to contribute more, you did, which I think is excellent, because it shows that you have the confidence to be able to express your thoughts and to think about it a little bit more and add more, so that's an excellent attribute. Really, really good. I like the handoff that you did throughout your presentation. Very, very smooth. Nobody cut anybody off, and it was like a continuation of one thought. So acting as a unit, as a whole, I thought you created a very strong presence.
Thank you. I just love this question. I thought you guys did a great job. A question like that, you're supposed to just give your opinion. Try and back it up the best you can. I think when someone challenges you on something, I think don't be afraid to just stick to your guns and say, no, here's why I think this, and maybe you're wrong, maybe you're not wrong, maybe there is no right or wrong, but sticking to your argument, and supporting it, is the best thing I think that you can do. So great job.
Yeah, and I will say, there is no right answer on that question. There are really smart people on either side of that who can back up their entire answers based on the Constitution and whatever. So the answer that you give, just make it yours. Speak it boldly and be where you are. And don't worry about, oh, what does somebody else think? It's okay, think what you think.
I disagree with my colleague on that. and that's my leading, because I really like how you have that, and that's great, where you say it, if you don't agree on those kind of a personal opinion. You had a great, I can't remember if it was these, Allison, I can't remember that too far from my memory, but where you said, I disagree, respectfully with my colleague, and you gave your opinion, and that's great. I think the judges, and I can't speak that, it's my first time through this, but they want to hear where you could disagree respectively and be able to support your case, and I thought you did a good job.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Take a breath.
This time.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Great
Good
color
work,
coding.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.